All right, hey, well, we're pleased now to be joined by Allan Bell, CBS Sportsline, and a guy that I like to refer to, I've never told you this, but I look at you as like the king of Nashville Twitter. I mean, you got one of the best feeds out there, so it's an honor to meet you. I know we've had some back and forth in here, but thank you so much for coming through. I really do appreciate it.
Dude, well, first off, I appreciate that. Second off, man, I appreciate having me in here. And, dude, I would say the same for you, man. Like, you know, it's funny, like we were just talking, off air, that in the sports media space, right, like, everyone is associated with like a brand or a company or whatever. And the same thing you just said to me, I would say to you in regards to the entire SEC that like you have like your stalwart SEC media type people, but I see you. You know what I mean? Like, and it's like, that's the best part about it is that you built all this on your own. Congrats on that. And then two, dude, you're funny as hell. You know what I mean? Like, it's good info. But I also know that, like, anytime that we interact, like, it could be super serious topic. We'll probably make jokes in between. Or it could be something that means nothing, and we're going to make jokes in between. You know what I mean? So, yeah, dude, I say the same thing right back at you, man.
I appreciate it. Well, whenever I get someone in here, I love to ask them kind of about their journey. Yeah. So let's start there. And I don't want to say lucky because that's not the right word because I know you bust your ass. I know people that you work with, they say you're a tremendous boss and you've worked to get to where you are.
Yeah.
But you literally get paid at CBS Sportsline to talk gambling. I mean, there has got to be, 10 million people that want that job, that think they can do it. You actually hold that job, and you get to do it every day. So, I mean, how blessed do you feel to have that job?
Okay, so first off, the first word that you said, lucky, 100%. Right? 100%. Like, I say it, man. Like, I'm telling you, out of college, was like doing computer phone sales. The same thing that probably everybody has done at one point or another, right? So, and
I'm doing that when we get off here.
Are you? Yeah.
No,
I was like, okay, yeah. So, all right. So I'll tell you, like, and look, you said it blessed, 1,000,000%, 1,000,000%. But lucky for real, like, that's absolutely a perfect word, and I'll tell you why. Yes, a ton of hard work, 1,000,000 nights of no sleep, right?
Yeah.
A ton of them. You know the same thing. But I was doing phone sales, man, and happened to work beside a guy that I didn't know that just happened to start talking to. Right? Somehow, one or another, this dude is friends with the mascot for the Tennessee Titans. This is 10 years ago, at least, okay?
Yeah.
I'm just a young kid right out of college. Well, somehow or another, at the right time, this dude needed somebody to help. So I was like, dude, I'll do it. He was like, you don't even know what the job is. Like, I don't care. Like, whatever it is, I'll do it, right? So it started off as legitimately just being the guy that would follow the mascot around the field during a game, and then like during quarter breaks, when it's like, hey, can a fan toss a thing in a wheel for a T-shirt, right? I would do that, and then I would just start picking up stupid things that no one wanted to do.
Right.
Hey, will you go out and shoot up T-shirt cannon? Done. You know what I mean? So like, it was lucky to be at the right spot to sit 2 seats down from that guy that I didn't know, and him randomly bring it up because he didn't talk about it to anybody. He just randomly brought it up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then I do that, okay? So here's where it gets even more lucky. So I'm doing that. Well, the mascot is not really involved the entire NFL game. There are many times where he's like, I'm going to go in the back, take a break because you sweat. It's tiring, right? So when he would do that, I'd get him back there, go up the visitor's tunnel. Office is right there. Make sure he's good. Well, I just go back out to the field, watch the game. Well, I would just be on my phone, like video, like literally, here's Bill O'Brien, and like I'm standing, like 5 yards, like right on, the deal, right? And I would just film like a play, put it on Twitter, cool, funny, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Well, come to find out, I put one video up. I get a reply after it's a noon game. Out of there by 4 o'clock afterward, right?
Yeah.
Get a reply on Twitter from a girl who I didn't know, all right? And she said, hey, she was like, your videos are like, they're cool, they're funny. Do you have a minute? Yeah. Call her. She was the director of marketing for 24/7 Sports. Oh. And she goes, we're starting an NFL thing because, they did recruiting and all that. Her name's Lonnie Polk. She's the best. And she goes, yeah, like we're starting an NFL thing, and the owner and they're like, we don't know anybody like NFL, and I just came across your thing, and like I've seen it a couple of times, and it's funny, but it's good, you know what I mean, in an engaging way. I was like, all right. She was like, can you come in tomorrow for an interview? Yeah. So in 2 weeks, like this like happens. So long story short, I'll end it there. But like I'm telling you, like when you said lucky, like yeah, man, like I'm not above saying like it's been a very blessed path, and it's been one of those to where it's like right place, right time, and a lot of people helping me out.
Yeah.
That didn't have to. So yeah, great job, and I'm blessed and I love it. But never will I not say that like it's been a blessed path, and there have been a lot of people that have made these things happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I know it's like long-winded, but like
no, for
I
sure.
find it fascinating, and I always want to pay respects to the people that were like, dude, if one of those things in that path doesn't happen, none of this happens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
So,
that's cool of you to say, because I mean, personally, I can't stand it when people, I'm the shit, everything
it's
coming my way.
Yeah, it's the worst attitude like in like fucking life to have. You know what I mean? So it's like, dude, yeah. And look, you would probably say the same thing. Like people don't see the night after night after night after early morning after like it's a grind, dude, and it never ever stops. So it's like, yeah, like totally,
weekends, holidays.
Oh, those are the busiest times.
Right.
Christmas time, dude, you're working. Thanksgiving, you're working. Like these are like all the family times are the busiest work times. But that being said, like you just said, like anybody who doesn't pay respects to the blessed path, whether somebody's religious, not whatever.
Right.
Like the people that helped you, you know what I mean? And like those things, like if the people who don't pay respect to that, they're lames. Like it's not all you, man. Like I don't care what you did. Somebody helped you get there,
Right.
Yeah.
And so are you originally from Nashville?
Texas originally, but I've lived in Nashville for a long time. So,
Right.
So I just claim I like Tennessee for sure.
Like I said, you're the king of Nashville Twitter. I mean, it don't matter if it's a car chase, if there's a damn tornado coming. Like I got to go to your Twitter feed to see what the hell's going on in Nashville, whether it's a party scene. So I truly appreciate that.
Yeah.
So I figured you'd be the best person to ask, because so many people that listen to this show, they're not from Nashville, but they come here all the time, whether it be for a Vanderbilt game or an NFL game or just to hit Broadway.
Yep.
What's your favorite sports bar in Nashville?
Ooh, great question, because there's really not a lot of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Double Dogs is cool. The good food, good setup. Corner pub. I used to love the Corner Pub near Vanderbilt, before that one closed down. Man, that one's tough, dude. You know what I'm going to say? Live Oak.
Really?
Yeah. Onto my brand, Live Oak.
Okay.
I am friends with the owner there, so it's a little bit, but no, it's a good spot there for sure.
Yeah, and what is the? I'm curious to know this, because, I mean, there's a lot of good food here.
Yep.
But what, in your opinion, is like maybe the go-to barbecue spot for Nashville people?
Ooh, I'm very, very partial to peg leg porker.
Yeah.
Not only because like Kerry Bringle, the owner, and all those guys are phenomenal. Leighton Hilbert, give a shout out to him. But the food is great. So I would put peg leg one. Martin's Barbecue is phenomenal. Like, let me say, there's no wrong way. Like, if it says barbecue here, like, you're gonna be fine. But if I had to choose one, peg leg porker for sure.
Yeah. And what did you think of when Nashville held the NFL draft? I mean, I can't imagine anybody thought it was going to be to the level it was. Were you anticipating that?
No, not on that level. Like, I'm with you. Like, I mean, we all knew that it would be big.
Yeah.
Right? But that turnout was insane.
Yeah.
It's funny. Like, how long have you been here in Nashville?
Just like 5 years.
Okay, perfect. All right, so think of 5 years ago from this moment, right?
Yeah.
You remember the whole discussion of, like, sports on a national level was, yeah, like, Nashville, you're getting there, but, like, you don't have the hotel space. Like, that was, like, the big conversation. Dude, they have taken care of that in like a year, right? Like, I mean, there's a 4 seasons, like there's everything that has come in, a million of them, right?
Right.
I think that the NFL draft was the turning point for this city, like on a huge level. And look, again, you had an NFL team here, you had an NHL team. It's not like Nashville wasn't
Right.
big, but I really think that was the turning point for all of it. because it was like it showed on a national or a global scale, however you want to look at it, that like Nashville's here, like it's not messing around, and it's more than just like a tourist destination, get drunk on the weekend on a bachelorette party spot. Yeah, like I feel like that was like the turning point, you know what I mean? Because it was like, dude, like those overhead cam pictures, you know?
Oh yeah.
It's like shit, dude, like my God, like look how many people are here. And the best part was you had so many people that traveled for it, but also like me and you could have sat there like at a TV and like you're picking out your friend groups. You're like, oh yeah, they're drunk. I know that I can already tell, right? So it's like that was the cool part. It's like it was a perfect blend of like people here, but also people coming to it. Yeah, I really feel like 50 years from now, we'll all look back and like, yeah, like that's the one that like that kicked it off. You know?
Yeah, and so we're hosting SEC Media Days in July for the first time ever, and rumor is they're going to try to do some version of that. It obviously won't be to the scale of that, but I mean, what do you think they can do with that event in Nashville on Broadway? I mean, it's just a massive opportunity once again to showcase the city, don't you think?
It is, absolutely. And look, I'll say, all right, not putting myself in Greg Sankey's shoes because that's a genius level guy, right? But I like to your point, I think you could build that thing as large as you wanted it to be, but you're gonna have to put in more to it, right? So let's just think like SEC Media Days, normally head coach, 2 players speak for 30 minutes, in and out, right?
Yep.
If you wanted to make this a really big thing, you would have to have buy-ins from the school, but I think that they would be a part of it because the checks come in, you know what I mean? Oh, sorry, but like. Yeah, like you could set up like locations, Broadway, Demumbrian, Midtown, West End, Hermitage, wherever you wanted to, right? And you could have these teams that are set up, and maybe you have a couple more players, maybe you have some of the other coaches, right? Like if you just look at it from a Tennessee perspective, like yeah, you could have like Heupel and Nico and Joe Milton on a Broadway spot, right? And it's like, okay, well now you've got, here's the baseball coach, here's Rick Barnes, here's however build that you want to do it, and you could do it for Kentucky. Because all these schools have big fan bases, right?
Yeah.
So long story short, like I think it's going to be great how they do it now. If they ever want to expand that and make it like a premier thing, like the draft, like a big tent pole, massive event, dude, the scale is there. Like you could make it as big as you want.
And like you said, we're all set up with the accommodations, the
Everything.
Bars, the restaurants. I mean, they could really knock it out of the park here. You know what?
Yeah, and like that's the best part too. Is like think how many fan bases. First off, Nashville geographically is a great spot for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, it's a destination spot. You could make it like a vacation type thing. It's family friendly. You know what I mean? Like any age group could come. You could have you and 5 of your bros come and you're just hammered all weekend. Great. And you could have, a family, dad, mom, 10-year-old, 8-year-old, kid right beside him and have an absolute great time. Like everyone could mix into it. Yeah, man. Like I think it would be cool. It's cool as it is. Like, but yeah, like if they wanted to expand, they could go as far as they want.
Yeah. So how has working with CBS Sportsline, now that gambling, I would imagine it, obviously it changed the landscape of sports and sports gambling when a couple years ago they opened it up. It's still not legal everywhere for some insane reason. I mean, people get addicted to sugar, alcohol, sex. I mean, you could get addicted to anything. I don't know why gambling is in this one little spot.
You get addicted to Twitter.
Exactly. I mean, hell yeah. So why, I don't know. That's a different story. But how massive has that been for sports to have legalized gambling in the vast majority of the country?
It's unbelievable. I mean, you're looking at I can't even put a number. You're looking at $100 billion plus industry that's been there. Like that's the thing too. Is like it's not like this is brand new. Introduce it to the market. It's gonna take like NIL. It's gonna take 10 to 15 years for the legislation to come, and for the perfect homeostasis, for the legislation, for the players to understand, the schools to understand, the businesses, like it takes time for all that. Dude, people have been sports betting since the mafia in the 40s. You know what I mean? Like, like this has been going on.
Right.
So
there is no mafia if we had legalized gambling. You know what?
Right? Dude, 100%. Like, so yeah, like this is it. This has been happening.
Yeah.
So it's the perfect product that you have. That's been going on. Sports been going on. Like, you didn't have to educate the audience, so to say, on any of the this is how you play. Right now, there are people that are brand new to it that you have to do that, but. I mean, it would like there's so much money that's in it, and I'm not saying it's just for the books. Like, there are a lot of people out here that win a lot, right? So it's been massive, and it's continuing to grow. And think about this too, all right? Across the country, the 3 largest states still don't have it: California, Florida, and Texas. And it's a $100+ billion industry, and they don't even have it yet. Like, when one of those states gets it, that is a massive, massive influx into it. When all 3, like Florida's trying to do it now, and there's situations with the Native American groups that kind of own that. And again, it's nothing negative. It's just working out the numbers and all that, right? California and Texas don't. Now, Texas is kind of working on it, but we'll see. But yeah, when one of those states, like in full, goes. Dude, that's 30% of the market. Yeah. Because their states are just so populated, right? So, long story short, it's been massive for the industry. It's been massive for sports. Look at it. Who'd have thought NFL teams would have banners of betting? Like 5 years ago, you would have laughed me out of this building if I said that's going to happen.
Right. And how big has it been for this state? Do you even have your job, do you think, if legalized online gambling in Tennessee, if that wasn't a thing? Do you even think you have your job?
Well,
at least in its
current... I mean, it's a great question, right? Yeah. If it weren't as national as it is, no. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because it's let me give you a perfect example. Okay, so Sportsline, what we do, we have our product, our service. All right, it's $9.99 a month. Okay. And I'm not going into a sales pitch. What I'm saying is this. We have 174,000 subscribers, okay? If it weren't a national thing, we'd have 4,000, right? So it's no, probably not, right?
Right.
CBS, the best company I've ever worked for in my life. Very conservative company. And I don't mean politically. I mean they don't take a lot of edges.
Right.
Jim Nantz is the perfect embodiment, right?
Right.
Let's have a good time.
Yep.
Let's just not screw this up. Everybody's here to watch sports. Let's talk sports, right?
Right.
I absolutely love it. They're not really a company that, that takes big jumps because they don't have to. They've been around forever, right?
So,
but with sports betting,
rumors of you jumping to Outkick are false.
No,
I'm just kidding.
No, that was good. That's the thing is the fact that CBS is putting on a digital television channel dedicated to sports betting. I mean, that tells you right there. Because if it weren't that big nationally, there's no way in hell CBS would be doing that. They're like, dude,
right.
we don't need to. Let's just butter our bread. Do a good job, go home, right? But that's how big it is. It's completely changed the sport market, and it's growing by the day.
And it's what's great also for Tennessee is they allow the online. You don't even have to be a resident. You just got to be in the state. Yep. And there's states like Kentucky, Georgia, Arkansas. To my knowledge, you can't do it there. Yep. So when they could cross the border and bet, I don't know why in the hell they make it difficult like that, but so many people visit Nashville.
Yeah.
We have sponsors from Georgia
yep.
for daily fantasy sports.
Yeah.
They say if you call this betting, we're going to drop your ass. Yep. It's that big of a deal. 100%. Do not say bet. Do not say gamble. Daily fantasy sport. I mean, it's so silly how we do it, but that helps Tennessee too, don't you think?
Big time. Look, I'll say this. So, our show on YouTube podcast called The Early Edge, and I'm not plugging it. What I'm saying is, it reaches a national audience as well. It's not huge, but it's not just one state. Okay,
right.
But there are a lot of people from Georgia. There's a lot of SEC. A lot of the crossover. The same people that you probably speak with on Twitter. It's a lot of the same, right? So there's a lot of people from. A ton from Kentucky and a ton from Georgia that live near the border. Mm-hmm. And when, during college football season, for example, on Saturdays, I'll host a show at 9 a.m. Central. There are people in the chat that I talk to every Saturday. That's the only one they show up for. because we'll do it daily, but they don't really care about baseball. Like they say they're just college football. They'll come in, our show's 20 minutes or less. They'll get the picks, and they'll tell me, they're like, hey, dude, I'll be at the Chattanooga fireworks gas station in about 20 minutes, putting all these bets in and driving right back. Dude, and I'm like clockwork, and I'm like, dude, send me the slip. Like, I'm going to put it on Twitter. That's awesome. You know what I mean? So It's great for Tennessee because you're adding revenue, and it's bad for those states because, dude, that money's being spent, whether you want it or not. And Tennessee's glad. Yeah, Bring your tax revenue. We'll take all of it. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Do you think we'll ever have brick and mortar sports gambling in Tennessee?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's going to happen. Now, how it will look, I don't know. But you could even do it right now. All right. So the legalities around it are mobile only. Okay. Well, and nobody's done this yet, but Barstool's about to be the first. All right. So I believe, from what I understand, they've purchased the building that was, what was that seafood place on 2nd Avenue? Joe's Crab Shack. You know what I'm talking about?
Went
out of business. I believe Barstool bought that. What they're going to do, and I've been saying this for 2 years on Twitter, all right, is say me and you tomorrow, today, we walk out of here, we go buy a building. Me and you are going to start a restaurant today, all right? Well, take your phone. All right, what we could do is that we could put mobile iPad phone kiosk at every table. You could bet through that. You're not betting through us. We're not your we're not your sports book. But if we had, say one of the sports books were a partner that sponsored it, there you go.
Yeah.
Now you've got people that are coming in to watch games, coming in to eat with their family, whatever, and you could quietly sit, watch games, and you could do all of that. And that sportsbook,
live
that's
betting
the only,
and everything.
That's the only app on that thing. So nobody's taken advantage of that yet because they don't know how to do it, right? Barstool, I believe, is going to be the first to do it, and they'll probably make a ton because they're going to be the only ones.
I mean, that would save places like Buffalo Wild Wings and
it's
you know 100%. What I mean? Like they
those games that you have, that you play like trivia or whatever. It's the exact same thing.
Yeah,
exact same thing. Like you could legally do that, but nobody's really done it because, one, we spoke about it, the sports, like there's not a big it's not a big sports bar town. Weirdly enough, it's a bar town, but there's not a ton of sports dedicated sports bars, right?
Right.
But yeah, somebody's going to do it, and somebody is going to be paid sponsorship money out the ass to do it. It's a smart move.
What do you think about the Titans building a new stadium?
Oh, I think it's great. And look, I'm not an economist. If the tax, don't come to me for that.
You're right.
There's no way I can break it down. But just overall, I think it's phenomenal because, with the NFL now, you build a new stadium, you get a Super Bowl. Like that's
college football playoff. You'll probably get all that, right?
All of it. And it's like, I want them, and again, don't know the answer, but think ahead to the next stadium that you would build. If whoever is in charge of this process, you're looking at current stadium, new stadium, 30 years from then, right? And I don't know what the answer is, but it's think ahead for scalability. Because this thing is changing by the day because every new stadium that comes is super cool, right? The Raiders' new stadium is awesome. SoFi in Los Angeles. It's not even a stadium. It's it's a tent that goes over it. It's the shit. You know what I mean? So it's whoever's doing it, I love it. Think ahead. You know what I mean? Because like you said, the possibilities if you do it correctly are endless. And especially, I guess they're going to do, that area, the stadium and then the recyclable, whatever.
Right.
However you have to do it, just get all of that land. Just assume it. You got it right on the you could crush this.
And the great thing about Nashville, you get every music act.
All of it.
You get all those events.
All
will
of
come
it.
Here.
All of it. And then what me and you need to do is, all right, so the General Jackson, right? The boat that, goes around on the river. We need to park that thing. Me and you, we need to buy this thing, park it on the river between that new stadium and Broadway. Now you have a riverboat casino, sports book. Like, dude, the day that they do that is going to be just printing money. Like, it'll pay for all the taxes. You could just tell businesses in Nashville, like all like the property taxes and the arguments, like, don't even worry about it. We got it.
So I know you're a big college football guy too. Yeah. So that was, I knew it'd be great to have you in here. Yeah. But how unbelievable is it that we go from at Tennessee, Jeremy Pruitt, it's unwatchable on offense, to Josh Heupel, where literally you go up to go to the bathroom, you're gonna miss 2 touchdowns.
Yeah,
I mean it's like mind blowing to me the 180 they've done so quickly.
Yeah, it's mind blowing. The university, like, think about this, man. Like, dude, 10 years ago, this university as a whole was in shit.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And now look at last night. Like, there are Vols fans that are severely upset of losing in the Sweet 16, and I get it. Like, we're not talking about the opponent or anything like that, but like, dude, it seems like every team has been ranked number 1 at some point in the past calendar year.
Yeah,
it's incredible, man, and it goes to show, hiring from the outside, getting the AD and Danny White, getting Josh Heupel, getting the baseball coach Vitello, like Rick Barnes years, like they're all working for the same goal. And it felt like, when you had all these like internal strifes and Fulmer, and it's nothing negative on him, but like they just needed to step outside, and they got someone who's aggressive, made a plan, and they're following it. And there's as much money coming into that university as any university on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, Tennessee fans will show up. If you put a bowl game on the moon, Tennessee fans will sell that thing out. You know what I mean? So it's like, dude, it's just, they're crushing it. It's amazing, like we said, from where they've come to where they are now.
And do you think Tennessee's built to stay, but making it a fun program, an offense players want to play in? They just, of course, added number 1 quarterback Nico. I mean, you think they're here to stay to be SEC contenders?
Yeah, absolutely. Because what Josh Heupel does is it fits the exact mold for where really the society of football is, right? Like, I mean, things are changing with transfer portals, NIL, all of that. And whether you love it, whether you hate it, regardless. Josh Heupel has a sell that really nobody else has. He's saying, look, man, like, say you're a wide receiver at Southern Cal. You're a sophomore, junior, maybe even a senior. And you're entering the transfer portal, right? Like, I'm getting out of SC, right? Well, any school in the country can come pitch you. Josh Heupel could come and say, you're a wide receiver, right? Yeah. You had, 60 catches last year. Yeah. Tell you what, I could double your numbers in 6 games. Like, do you want to go to the league? Like, do you want numbers?
Yeah.
Yes, coach. Here, like, look, right? Like, not many people could do that because the pace that he runs and the success.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I guarantee that Josh Heupel, like, every year, the wide receiver group might look completely different. It might look like Kentucky basketball, in 2012 when it was just 12 freshmen.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying they're going to be freshmen. They're probably going to be actually juniors and seniors.
They transfer in, yeah.
Yeah, because Heupel's like, dude, you want to go to the league? I'll give you numbers no one else can give you. No one. And it's 100% accurate. So, yeah, like, I think it could definitely work. And the funny part, my dad's a huge Tennessee fan, right? Mm-hmm. And I was watching me and him usually watch games on Saturdays, right, at his house. And he made a funny comment that I didn't even think about. It was last year. He looked up. I can't remember what game it was. He looked up and he goes, don't get me wrong. I love Heupel, love this offense, love everything about it. Cool. He goes, it's so fast, you actually spend the entire game watching the other team. And I didn't think about that, and it's right. He's like, you get 3 minutes of Tennessee offense, and it's 57 minutes of the other team. He's like, you actually watch them. And I was like, yeah, like you do. Like, that's accurate, yeah. So I never thought about that. But, yeah, like, you become experts on Missouri. You're like, oh, dude, I know that offense. Yeah.
What do you think about Nick Saban? How much longer does he got at Alabama? I mean, they just signed the #1 class. He's complaining about the schedule. He's complaining about this. He's complaining about that. I mean, they lost 2 games, and it's like, my God, it's an epic disaster.
He seems like an unhappy person.
He does.
No, man. Like I think that Nick Saban's one of those like lifers, man. Like this is what he's meant to do, and I joke about like him being unhappy. Like that's usually what successful people look like.
'Cause he's a competitor. That's why.
100%. Like because it never stops, and that's what you want. It might not always be the most pleasant to be around, but those are generally the people that not only succeed but continue to. And look, I give Nick Saban credit. You know, we look at him and we think, oh, he's he's set in his ways. Like you're gonna do the Nick Saban stuff, dude. In all actuality, he's one of the most adaptable coaches that we've seen. Like he loses his offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator almost every year.
Yeah,
replaces them with completely different people. Brings in, this car wash of like misfit refugee camp coaches, right?
Right.
And dude, he adapts, and it's not like it's Nick Saban offense, Nick Saban well, it might be a little bit Nick Saban defense, but like the offense is usually like he lets the OC go. Mm-hmm. Like Lane Kiffin is different from Bill O'Brien, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it works. So like I give the guy credit, like for his, staunchy as he can seem, it's actually pretty adaptable. And I think that he probably wants to stop. I'm sure that his wife is like, come on, man. You know what I mean? Like, we have grandkids. Like, dude, what else do we need to do?
Right.
But it's in his blood. And I don't know how happy he would be without it. Yeah. And I get that. Like, it's almost a curse probably to him.
Yeah.
Because that's what he was meant to do. And not that he can't find other things to do. He probably excels at a lot of different stuff. But it's in his blood, man.
I mean, he could run college if they ever have a commissioner. He's the obvious.
He could be tomorrow. He could retire right now.
Yeah.
He could become the commissioner, right? And he become the governor of Alabama. Like, he could probably run for president, to be completely honest with you.
Right.
Like, that's the wild part. There like legitimately so many things that he could do, and he would probably excel at all of them.
Yeah.
But I think coaching football's in his blood, man. And it's just look at Tom Brady. Like you got to drag these people away, and when you do, it's like quitting smoking or so, like that's probably going to be a miserable ass 3 years for Nick Saban. I bet he won't. Whenever he retires, I bet he won't watch it because it'd probably hurt him. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Well, the only problem though, because everybody always looks at him and says, like when will he not want to do it, or when will he run out of gas, so to speak? But I don't think that's the real issue for Alabama and Nick Saban.
Yeah.
What I think the real issue is, he has been so damn good. Yeah. He has literally gotten every program in the SEC to fire their coach at least twice.
Yes.
And what that has done is you get a Jimbo at Texas A&M, you get a Kirby at Georgia, Heupel at Tennessee, Brian Kelly at LSU. They've had to Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss. They've had to go out and get these killers.
Yep.
Because otherwise Nick Saban is just going to torment them to the end of time. Yep. And I think he's gotten everyone fired so many times. I think a lot of these other schools have the perfect hire to challenge him now. And that's not to say that Alabama can't win it all or won't, but it's significantly more difficult now than it's ever been for Nick Saban. What's your thoughts on that?
I 1,000,000% agree. You know what? I liken what you just said because I think it's 100% accurate. I liken it to Henry Ford, like when he not only invented basically like modern cars for regular people to afford. Mm-hmm. He also basically invented the assembly line with that, right? And it's like he is crushing both of these beyond any level in, that era, early 20th century, that it literally raised the game for everything else, whether you were in auto manufacturing or not. Like if you just had, a plant, mm-hmm. like the game changed and now you have to step it up. And that's kind of what Nick Saban, like exactly what you just said, that like And for a conference that didn't need that, like the SEC was doing fine already. But look at it now.
Yeah.
You're 100% right, man. Like the SEC it's literally changing college sports. Look at these conferences. The Big 12 is folding. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy. And I'm not saying that's all Nick Saban, but like
right.
Yeah, like he raised the level and said, "Come get it."
Yeah.
And I'm going to kick your ass while we're doing it.
Right.
But somebody challenge me. You know what I mean? And you're right. Like there's all these different flavors of how to go about doing it at all these different these schools, and I think it's good.
Yeah.
Look at Kirby. You know, he's pretty much like Nick Saban.
Yep.
In a sense, but like Heupel's different. Brian Kelly's certainly different.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but at the end of the day, these schools are going to get better at challenging them. So yeah, I agree. That's a great point.
Well, you went to Kirby. I'm glad you went there. Do you think they can sustain it, and do you believe they are a better program than Alabama at this point in time, or is it a little premature to go quite that far for you?
Well, I mean, you know, over time, it's hard to compare to Alabama.
Yeah.
Whether you want to go all the way back to the beginning of it or the last 20 years, but you don't have to do it. The answer to your question, though, can it sustain 100%? You know, challenging Nick Saban, absolutely. Like Kirby's doing it now, right? They're incredible. And to come off what Georgia did the previous year, lose everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Because, look, that's actually the most difficult part. And I think Nick Saban, in between friends, not publicly, in between friends would say it and say, look, yeah, winning that first title, like, awesome. It's great. Dude, do it again.
Yeah.
Do it again. Now you want to get on my level. That's where it's hard.
Yeah.
Because now you're everyone's Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to deal with, man. And Georgia's like, all right. And they did it. You know, so yeah, like all respect to the world of Kirby Smart. All respect to the world of Georgia. Like they're recruiting. Not only is it high level, but it's also the same thing that Nick Saban would do too, is that it's not all 5-stars you got to watch out for. Like, I built this team so well, and I'm on their ass so much that all these players, their games elevate.
Yeah.
There were times where we joked Alabama's practice through the week was more difficult than the game they were going to play.
Yep.
You know, like their 1s versus 2s all week. You're like, well, if they succeeded in this, they're not going to have any problem on Saturday. Like they're way better, the guys they're going against, right?
Right.
So Georgia's right there. I mean, look at them. They're already churning it out, and it's each year just studs that you're like, I didn't know who this guy was, but yeah, you know, 3 games in, he's a first-round pick, you know. And
I think what Kirby and Georgia don't get enough credit for is they'll play anybody. It don't matter if you're a walk-on like Stetson, if you're Ladd McConkey, who was a 3-star receiver. They may have a dozen 5-star receivers over here, but who's getting it done in practice? Who gets it done on the field? That's the guy we're going to play, and that creates that competitive culture to where you can't come down there. They don't give a shit what you were ranked coming out of high school. They're going to play the player that does what they tell them to do, and you know, a lot of teams can't get away with that.
No, they can't, and you nailed it right there. That's the exact thing. Belichick was doing that right now. It helps when you have Brady, but you know, that's what it is. Like that's what is the finalization of all of that put together, and you start winning. Is that we don't give a shit what your recruiting profile said. Can you play?
Yeah.
Can you be counted on? Are you here? Do you do? You know, are you on time? Are you early? Are you putting in the work? All of that, like. You could be a first-round pick. I don't give a shit. I've got 4 guys that would love to take your spot. Like, that would chew you up like a wolf to get your spot, right? And that's you constantly breed competition within, but you do it in a professional way. You're not throwing chum out there and saying, hey, you know, go kill each other.
Right.
But it's absolutely known from day one that as you're, you know, metaphorically, you know, speaking to the entire locker room, you're saying the fact you're in this locker room, well done. Not an easy locker room to get into. Right. And number 2, throw everything out the window now. It is all pure competition. The best player will play. Go get it.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
let me ask you about Brian Kelly at LSU,
Yeah.
where they've won a national championship under the last 3 coaches.
Yeah.
And now they've got
Which is wild. Like, they've had some cartoon coaches, and I'm not making fun of them, but, like, Les and, like, they're just funny. So, yeah, keep going. Yeah.
Now they've got a professional that literally has come down here who said, my only goal, the reason I'm here, I had it great at Notre Dame, but I was not going to win a national championship. I think his goal is to win multiple championships at LSU.
Yep.
How scary does that make LSU?
Look at them this year. They already won the West.
Right.
Right? Like,
Nobody saw that coming.
Dude, it took no time. Look, I'll say this. Brian Kelly, I've never met him, never been around him. Doesn't seem like the most pleasant. You know, like, and again, I'm not saying it's a negative. Like, you know, it's just Brian Kelly is who he is.
Yeah.
Brian Kelly is the winningest coach at every school he's ever been to. Cincinnati, Notre Dame. Like, Notre Dame's not an easy school to be you have to know what you're doing.
Right.
So I say all that to say that, like, his system works. However you want to get down, his system works. And now you put him at a place at LSU where there's talent everywhere. Everywhere. Like, you could own your state, go get 3 people nationally that you want, and you're fine. You don't really have to go anywhere. You got Texas, whatever.
Right.
Yeah, man. Like, he can go as absolutely far as he wants to because, yeah, I mean, LSU has every ingredient there. And if Les Miles and Ed Orgeron, like, they're proof that you don't have to be one standard way. You know, and I said that the, like, cartoon characters, like, I said it as, like, they're just funny, right?
Right.
But they were great coaches, but they were completely different. Les Miles was an insane person, like, in a fun way. You're dude, are they going for it on 4th and 30? Yeah, oh, they got it, you know?
The holders throwing it over his
dude,
head.
Like, just madness, right? But, like, yeah, like, it goes to show that, you know, it doesn't have to be one set style. LSU has the ingredients for the gumbo. Dude, you just got to put it together your way. So
yeah, and what's your thoughts on Lane Kiffin there at Ole Miss? I mean, he's the ultimate wild card. I feel like they always exceed expectations.
Yeah, he does.
He is such a great offensive mind, but he's a damn wild card. He's calling out the fans for not showing up. I mean, you just can't get away with that at most places. But it's Oxford, and he's running the show down there.
And it's Lane.
Yeah,
like, credit to him. Like, he does his own thing, and it works. You know the weird thing about Lane, like, I think he's great for Ole Miss, right? And now that, you know, he signed his, you know, new contract and all that, like, I think he's settling it down. Like, after this last Auburn thing, like, it's not, is Lane leaving every 6 months, right? I don't know how old Lane Kiffin is, but look at his resume.
It's like backwards.
He has the resume of a 70-year-old football coach. He's coached everywhere. The NFL, all of these big schools, like, it's madness. It's madness, the experience that this guy has. And, like, people look at him, and we'll always have Lane as that, like, young Lane. Like, we'll always, like, look at him that way, even if he's gray and looks like Pete Carroll, right? Like, he'll always be the kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I say that in a good way because he was the young guy going against, you know, the old heads. But his experience level's not young guy. Like, this dude has been everywhere, man. And not only that, I mean, he grew up in it, you know, from his dad. So it's like, whatever anybody wants to say, like, Lane Kiffin's seen a lot of situations, probably knows how to handle them better than most people because his experience level is through the roof. And you can't buy that. Right. Like, you just have to go through it, you know, so... Yeah, like, Lane, what you get out of Lane is a fun coach, smart coach, offense, but also pretty damn experienced guy for his age. It's incredible. Yeah.
What's your thoughts on old Hugh back in the conference at Auburn? I mean, he's beaten Saban twice. I think that's why he's the damn head coach down there.
Yeah.
The expectation, maybe not year one, but the expectation is for him to beat Alabama, at least be respectable when you play them, particularly at home. Spring a couple upsets. But, God, this is why I love the SEC, Allan. We don't give a shit about anything other than wins and losses, and they know he's going to win down there. That's why he's the head coach.
Yeah, and another guy who's won everywhere that he's been. You know, and Hugh is weird because you say his name, and, you know, the off-the-field whatever – like comes to mind.
Yeah.
But it's a situation that it's not like he was like robbing a bank or committing a like it is what it is. It really has nothing to do with us. So it's like he gets this like weird transgression thing against him, but the guy can coach his ass off, and it's been proven over and over and over. I mean, the dude was winning at Liberty.
I was about to say, I've never heard of Liberty till he was the head coach there, and he was winning big,
and playing teams. Like, it wasn't like they were playing Smyrna High School. You know what I mean?
Right.
They were playing guys, dude. So, yeah, I mean, long story short, like, Hugh Freeze, I could see some people like him. Some people probably don't like him. The guy can recruit his ass off. Mm-hmm. The guy is a locker room guy. I've never heard say whatever you want about Hugh Freeze, and I don't even know the guy, so, like, I have no personal way one way or the other. I've never heard a player say negative things about him, like, once. Every former player that I've heard speak about him, they're like, oh, yeah, like, you'll like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll like playing for him. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
He gets the support. And, for a lot of times, like, dude, that's kind of what I look for. Like, how to, it'd be like if you were interviewing someone and you never met him before and, somebody could come in and have done 1 trillion interviews and give the best interview of all time. But it's like, let me talk to some people that have worked with him.
Yeah.
And if you talk to 5 people and 4 of them are like, dude, that guy sucks. You're like, I'm not hiring him. But if the 4 people are like, that's the best dude that I know. Like, yeah, I know he's been through some stuff, but trust me, hire him. You're like, okay.
Right.
And that's how it feels like with Hugh.
Yeah. Do you think Jimbo is going to make it at A&M?
I don't know. Man, they got to figure out that offense.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? It's the quarterback position. That's where they got caught up.
And that's what he's supposed to be good at.
Yeah, and let me say it's tough. I say the same thing about the NFL. Like, here in Nashville, a ton of, like, Titans fans, they want to get rid of Ryan Tannehill. And it's a different circumstance because you're paying player, like, there's salary cap things to do with whatever. But there are 15 people on planet Earth that can play quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
That's it. It's the hardest job on the planet. There's 15 people. College is kind of the same way. It's a bigger pool, but the percentages kind of line up. Like, you either have a quarterback or you don't.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't, I don't care what you do. Good luck. So Jimbo's got to figure that part out. And I see already that he's moving his offense to a much faster pace, which is good because it was just ungodly slow. But there's only so much you could do.
Right.
Kind of like Mike Vrabel. Like, when Tannehill gets hurt, he's like, okay, we are going to run the football. Like, like, we are not, like, I hope everyone wants to win 12-9. Like, that's where Jimbo found himself, right? So, yeah, like, he can certainly do it. That guy can recruit his ass off.
Yeah.
And players seem to like him, too. You know what I mean? So, yeah, they just got to figure out the quarterback part. They figure that part out, everything else be easy for him.
Well, speaking of a player's coach, Shane Beamer, I think is one of the biggest player coaches out there.
Yeah.
He's certainly embraced social media and all the aspects with that. Yeah. And opposing fans think it's hokey and it's so stupid, but players and fans love that. They eat that shit up. How high do you think he can take South Carolina?
I mean, Steve Spurrier got him to rank number 1 at one point, right? Like, if you're in the SEC, you can go as far as you want.
Yeah.
Any school at any moment. And I'm with you on Shane Beamer, dude. Like, yeah, there are a lot of people say, they'll say things are hokey. Dude, if I had to go into my locker room and the players love when I stand on my head without shoes on and they go out and win games, damn it, I'm standing on my head without, like, I'm doing whatever I have to do. Like, and you know what? I think the thing with Beamer, probably why it's viewed one way in South Carolina and in that locker room and viewed different elsewhere, is because it's genuine. And I think anyone that's around him daily, like, you could tell someone who is genuine and someone who is just bullshitting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, somebody who's playing the hits, faking it, like, you might get away with that for a little bit, but eventually you could tell you're like, this guy really didn't care. He just knows what to say. Yeah. Right? Beamer, it's real. Like, it's absolutely real, and it's something to where whatever industry you're in, you could feel it.
Mm-hmm.
You could probably feel it in that locker room and around that facility, around the school. Like, I bet he's that way with everyone. People in administration, professors, fans. Like, I bet there are a bunch of fans who are like, yeah, dude, that guy signed a hat for me, like, walking out of Mapco after he got gas. Like, I didn't even really want to bug him, but, like, he was cool. Like,
yeah.
That shit works, man. Like, being genuine works.
Right.
And he's proof of that. So
last SEC team I wanted to ask you about, Kentucky under Mark Stoops.
Yeah.
Do you think they've hit a ceiling? But because it's wild. They win 7-8 games now. That's a disappointment. When he got there, they would have celebrated that.
Yeah.
They've set higher hopes. They've got 3 assistants that make over $1 million.
Yep.
That's the state of Kentucky. New facilities, great fan base. They got their sights on higher things. Do you think Mark Stoops can take them there?
Yeah, he can. You know who's the perfect comparison to Mark Stoops?
Who's that?
Rick Barnes.
Yeah.
Look at Rick Barnes in Tennessee basketball.
Steady Eddie.
Absolutely. Has absolutely raised the level of Tennessee basketball. Like, from a consistent. And Bruce Pearl did too. Like, we're not saying Rick Barnes is the only one, right? But Rick Barnes absolutely raised the standard and has stayed at that standard. Say what you will about the NCAA tournament, but it's hard to win. Only one team wins, right? And you look at the last 5 NCAA tournaments, they're all 1 seeds. It's actually a really chalk playoff, even though it's fun at the beginning with the upsets.
Right.
I feel that Barnes and Stoops are probably very similar, right? To where he's raised the level. And now he's raised it so well without bringing attention to himself that it's just expected because he's that good, right? And now what we talked about with Saban, like theoretically looking at Kirby Smart and saying, "Man, that was cool. You won one, win another one, win 3."
Right.
And watch how hard that is.
Yeah.
Now, like, it's easier to go from terrible to decent to okay, you're all right, to good to great. Dude, that's the hardest part. Because, I mean, those, like, going from 8 wins to 11, like, we're talking consistently, dude, that's hard. Because now you're battling the big boys. Like, because now your margins are, you're going to beat most of the teams on your schedule. Now you have to consistently beat Tennessee, Florida, Georgia. Because that's the only way you're going to get those numbers is that now you have to go through them and you have to consistently do it. And look, Kirby Smart, he has to do that too. Now he does it, but don't think for a second that Kirby Smart doesn't spend his year. His year is built on those 4 games.
Right.
Kirby Smart's not paid all that money to beat Furman. It's those 4 teams. That's what his job is, right? It's the hardest thing to do in sports. He could do it. He's a hell of a coach, but it's not easy, man.
And speaking of that, it's not getting any easier because we got Texas and Oklahoma coming into the league.
Yeah.
What does that do, in your opinion, to the SEC? I mean, we were already the best. Now it's like legitimately the only super conference.
Yeah, and I mean, now it's just warfare. Right? And, like, that's just football. Think about basketball. I'll give you a perfect example. Last year in college baseball, there are 8 teams that go to the College World Series. 5 of them were SEC teams. If you think the SEC dominates in football, look at college baseball. The top 10, 8 of them are SEC teams right now.
Right.
And Tennessee's 12, right? And Tennessee was one of the last teams that didn't make it. Like, and they were the number 1 team in the country last year.
Right.
Okay, so 3 of those 8, Texas was one of them. Oklahoma played in the national championship against Ole Miss. So 7 of the 8, and Stanford, right? So it's like, dude, it is just World War III. Like, you don't even need to play outside teams anymore.
Yeah.
There's no point. Like, I don't even know if you have to play 12 games. Like, just play 6. It's going to be, like, I don't know. You know, it's crazy. Like, it's nuts, but it's going to be a ton of money, man.
Yeah.
Like, Greg Sankey and them, those checks are NFL checks that are coming to these schools.
Oh, yeah.
And it's unbelievable. Like, look at everything that's going on. All that is because collectively what you said, the SEC is killing it.
Yeah. Well, Allan, I can't thank you enough for coming through. This was a hell of a time here.
Yeah.
Before you go, can you tell the audience where's the best place to find all your work?
Yeah, Twitter probably the easiest spot at Allan Bell 247, but you can find me.
Follow.
Dude, I was gonna say the same to you, bro. Sportsline.com, CBSSports.com, CBS Sports HQ, CBSSports.com/live. Any of them. Just go to CBSSports.com and dude, you'll just see the links. You know what I mean?
For sure.